I Saw the TV Glow is a psychological thriller drama written and directed by Jane Schoenbrunn. It stars Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne as two troubled high school students named Owen and Maddy, whose connection to their favourite television show drives them to question their reality and identities. This review will be spoiler-free. This is a very interesting film. It is one that I feel drawn to watching again. What's funny about that is that for most of its runtime, I honestly didn't feel like I was connecting to it. After its first act, which I really enjoyed, it veered off into odd places that I wasn't sure I liked, yet was quite mesmerized by. The ending didn't hit me on the deep level that I think it wanted to, but regardless, this film hasn't left my head since I saw it. Going in, I had heard so much good buzz about this movie, and the trailers and concept intrigued me greatly. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, though. Sometimes when that happens, you don't feel like you've vibed with it, but then when you sit with it and you start to accept the film for what it truly is and not what you thought it was going to be, then it only grows in your mind. The TV show that Owen and Maddy connect over was so well realized that I kind of wish it was real. It seems like something that I would have watched in the late 90s or early 2000s. It is called The Pink Opaque. It looked like Goosebumps or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, as well as many other shows from that era. The way that they recreated the look and feel of that time period for young adult TV was just pitch perfect. That is really worth appreciating because all too often when films try to recreate the aesthetic of a past era on TV, it almost always looks wrong, usually because it's too high quality or something. The filmmakers clearly knew what a show from this era was supposed to look like and feel like. They seem well versed in that time period of campy, soapy fantasy TV. They went the extra mile to immerse the audience. Without the flawless authenticity of The Pink Opaque, this film doesn't work. Of course, it's truly only the first act that revolves around the connection that the characters have to that show, but still, if you don't have that show perfectly presented, then the jumping off point for when the story goes elsewhere just doesn't feel grounded enough. Everyone has that one show that they were obsessed with in their youth. It was so relatable to see the characters hypnotized by the TV, waiting for the time slot, reading magazines with episode guides and story or character details in them. That feeling you got when you met someone who was into the same show that you were was a special feeling, especially in the pre-streaming era. You felt like you were smarter than everyone else in your school, that you had discovered this rich and thought-provoking world that few others had. It was like being in a cool and exclusive club. It was truly inspiring. Maddy is transfixed by the show, and Owen is shown to be immediately transfixed also when Maddy shows the show to him. It shines a light on how people who struggle to fit in or understand their identity can become obsessed with living vicariously through characters in stories. Even if Owen didn't immediately connect to the show, he's going to, in some ways, force himself to, because he wants to connect with another person like Maddy, who's a little bit older and seems kind of cool, but it's sort of easy to connect with someone over a TV show because you don't have to talk while you're watching it. You just sit together, and for some people that find it really difficult to socialize, I'm sure that feels like a great and easy way to connect. I loved the way they showed how outcast kids can connect over art and entertainment and project themselves onto it. Owen speaks a profound line early on in the film when Maddy asks him if he likes boys or girls. He says, "I think I like TV shows." This was a brilliant line, and it honestly hit hard. It's quite deep. Especially when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, there's a lot of expectations put on you by your peers to follow what everyone else is doing. Everyone's getting into dating and partying when they're not really mature enough to do so, and some people really don't feel comfortable with it. For them to express that is difficult. The Pink Opaque is an illusion, as all TV shows are, and it is devastating to watch Owen realize this as he grows older. This was an all too relatable image of growing up and learning to accept yourself because you have to. There's no other choice as you grow older. If you don't, then you're only going to fall into a depression. And the film explores these themes. An aspect of Owen's character that I found intriguing is that upon connecting with Maddy over the Pink Opaque, he persistently lacks agency over his own decisions. He will follow her even if he doesn't want to deep down. This is something a lot of people go through, but Owen never quite overcomes this issue. I wish I had more insight into Maddy and her mental health issues. At a certain point in the film, she becomes quite mysterious. I know that we're supposed to be taking Owen's perspective, and she's supposed to be distant from him at a certain point. But I'm sure that there will be more for me to pick up on upon rewatch in regards to Maddy. You may know Justice Smith, who plays Owen from the Jurassic World films, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, or Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, but this is easily his best performance. He conveys being an introvert quite well. He has great chemistry with Bridget Lundy-Payne, who also gives a good performance, and you may recognise Bridget from the Netflix series Atypical. One of my issues with the film was Owen's father. This issue is quite minor in the grand scheme of things, but I'm just going to go on a little tangent about it for a while because it sparked a lot of thought in me. Owen's father is a non-character really, which is totally fine. His only line of dialogue in the film is a reply to Owen asking if he can stay up late to watch the Pink Opaque. He says, "Isn't that a girl's show?" My issue is that I found this depiction of a father to be very generic and lacking in nuance. Owen's sexuality is something that is in question throughout the film, but is largely kept at arm's length from the audience. I didn't appreciate the father being uncomfortable with the possibility of him not being into girls by criticizing something as trivial as a TV show his son watches as being for girls. There are more interesting ways to show the distance between Owen and his father. The way that it was done was lazy because it has been shown in films this way many times over. I don't expect Owen's father to be a good father, but it just made me think about how, aside from stories of single fathers, we rarely get to see well-written fathers in American films altogether. I see this as a huge failure on the part of many screenwriters, as it makes it hard for me to relate, especially as a male. It also means that we don't have great paternal role models for young men to watch on screen. There are more good fathers in the world than bad. We might see nice fathers who lack agency, but we rarely see truly great ones on screen. Even if you want to write a bad father, that's fine. Either way though, to never see truly complex and masculine father figures in films is disappointing and not a reflection of the reality of our society. The homophobic absent father has just become a bit of a caricature at this point. If you're going to do that type of father character, you need to explain why he is like that, and show that he has a right to be like that, whether he is correct or incorrect. Or just write more subtle dialogue. Like the title suggests, the film very much does glow. Its neon color palette spews pink and purple in a way that is really striking. I loved the look of this film. The soundtrack is awesome, evoking a dreamy 90s feel, and you also get to see Phoebe Bridgers performing in the movie, and I think that is awesome because I really like her and her music. Whilst I don't think the story hit me in a truly profound way, there were little moments here and there where I felt emotional, because the film is imbued with so much soul that it just pours out of the screen. Especially during its first act, which will be relatable to many to varying degrees. If you are a lonely person that struggles to make friends, or simply a lover of great television, or just a very nostalgic person, it is clear that Jane Schoenbrunn knew exactly what she wanted to do with this film. It is visually striking and experimental in such a way that I have had to sit with. I feel compelled to watch it a second time. I am not sure if it all works emotionally or if it even ever will for me, but it is daring, and that is a great thing. Some will not connect with the strange directions that it takes in Act 2 and 3. It could have easily and comfortably continued on the track that it set up for itself in Act 1, but it dares to be something more, and that is what makes it memorable. Sometimes I prefer a film that isn't as structurally sound as your average movie, but it takes big swings. Thank you, A24, for another thought-provoking and original film. Now I will have to check out Schoenbrunn's other work, as I haven't seen anything else that she has done. This is certainly some of the most interesting filmmaking I've seen so far this year. I would say it's one of the best movies of 2024, and I recommend that you see it.